We know about New Year's resolutions, but today we're exploring a concept even more productive and timely to this season. This year, consider helping your kids set school year resolutions. My first guest says families should take advantage of that fall fresh start and set some school year goals. A really smart way to help kids become better organized and start things off with their best foot forward. Host of the online community Middle Moms, Jessi Berger, is joining me with the goal-setting formula for families. It's great to see you. Great to have you.
Thanks so much.
You got some kids back to school. You're settling into your new hum.
Yes. We're just getting right into it. My high schoolers went today. Yeah. My middle schooler goes tomorrow. So we're right in the thick of it.
You're knee deep. I often joke, and I have for years, that fall feels like most women's new year. Like, we like to settle into a new routine, and with that comes goals, ambitions, right? New guidelines, self-imposed guidelines for ourselves and our progression. And you say this applies to kids too.
It does. Okay, so there's no scientific research to back this up. But I think if you talk to most kids and moms, this transition period feels like more of a new year than January does.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, they're going from that like laid back summertime to like the structure of school. And their whole kind of world, their whole day changes. So this is a great time to help them kind of figure out what they want, set some goals, and move into this new year with all that New Year energy.
The new energy, it's fresh, it feels fun, at least for the first little while.
Yeah, they're a little excited.
Until the second week hits. No, but I appreciate this idea, I really do. And you say before we even begin setting goals, we need to first let our kids know it's okay for things to change at the start of a school year.
Absolutely. So if you have a teenager, it's kind of a double change because everything about teenagers is changing all the time, right? Like, they're growing, they're changing all the time, and then they go into a new school year, and that's like change on top of change. And I think it helps them if they, and you, because it's as hard for parents as it is for kids, but if you just expect that change, like, you know it's coming, and instead of fighting it, you kind of just lean into it. So like, a new school year will have new classes, and that means meeting new people and new friends. Maybe you're gonna take a class that you've never taken before, and all of a sudden you love it, right? Or maybe there's something that they love, like when they were 14 and 15 and 16, and all of a sudden it's not that important to them. Like, the change is always fluctuating. I have my son, Drew. He has been a swimmer since he was 7. He loves swimming. He loves being in the pool. He's been swimming forever, and all of a sudden, he gets ready to go into high school, and he comes to us and says, I don't want to swim anymore. And we're like,
break tap.
What? Like, you're a swimmer. And at first we kind of panicked, and then we started talking to him. Well, why? Tell us more about this. And we're kind of digging in, and we find out it's because he wants more social time. He wants more friends, and he felt like he wasn't getting that on the swimming team. So he came and said, can I try mountain biking? I see this club, it's got 100 kids, I like being outside, you know, I know Dad likes to mountain bike. Can I try this? Yes, absolutely, because change is just part of being a teenager. And so even though it can be scary and really hard for teenagers, but also for mom and dad, because you're kind of used to who they are, you should just expect the change and embrace it. It will make it easier.
Well, and looking at, I love that you asked why. I love that you went to the why behind the idea or the why behind the shift, because that brought out a really sound reason. Like, he wanted more social time, and for him that was important.
Yes, because on the surface you might be like, what? Hold on.
You're a good swimmer.
Yes,
you get in that pool, win those medals.
Yes, and we put all this time and money into it, and this is who you are. But maybe it's not who they are anymore.
I like that. That's a good reminder. That's a good reminder. You say all good goals start by looking at your priorities.
Yes. Okay, so this is the hard part. You need to do two things to help your kids figure out their priorities, but also help you figure out their priorities. First, you have to ask questions. And then second, you have to listen, like really listen to what they're telling you. So have you ever done this to your kid and you say, hey, how was your day? What do they say back to you?
Fine.
Fine. Like, it was fine. Every parent has had that moment. You have to ask better questions than that. So the questions that you should be asking should need an answer that's more than fine or yes. So you should be asking them, like, what are you excited for school? What are you nervous about? What classes have you taken that you like or that you hate? Because you can kind of get, you know, good information from both things. Are you excited for like upcoming dances, or do you want to join any clubs? You're asking questions like that that need explanation, that need answers. And then when you listen to those answers, you can kind of extract what's important to them.
So you're collecting puzzle pieces.
Yeah,
to
like
put
a little bit.
The whole picture.
And that's kind of your job as the parent, to help them say, like, to say to them, oh, I've noticed you're talking a lot about lunch, but you haven't like figured out who your teachers are or where your classroom is. So maybe the social aspect of school is more important to them than like their classes. On the other end, if you have one of those kids who like can tell you who their teacher is in the room and they have done all their homework by, like June, right? All that summer homework that most kids procrastinate, then you might know that you have got like a kid who really thrives on learning and knowledge. And so you can kind of tailor their goals, to whatever it is that you're pulling out of those discussions.
Okay, you say it's also mom's job to help find the balance.
Okay.
Which this is tricky. This is tricky.
So tricky. Yeah, it's really tricky because teenagers tend to like to go like all in.
They are in.
Right? Like,
all the way.
They get so much identity from things. It's like, I am a football player.
Yes.
And I love football and my entire life revolves
Eat,
around
sleep, drink.
football.
Right.
And you kind of love that energy about them because they're just all in. But also your job as a parent is to like bring some balance back to it. So you might say, you love football, but it's also really important, to be a good student and do your reading assignments. So maybe as like a middle ground, we can find you a book about like the first, I don't know, Latino football player in the NFL or something. So you can kind of like take what they love, but also balance it out with maybe what they need.
Other needs and other goals.
Yeah.
You also say that we should use our resources. We talked about pouring the money into the swimming or the sports or whatever it is, and the time too. Our resources should be focused on their goal.
Yeah, so as parents, we have two huge resources that kids don't have quite as much access to, and that's time and money, right? We have the time and money. So we should use those to help our kids. I'll tell you, I have a daughter who took AP Physics last year.
Oh boy.
It was brutal.
Bless her.
I know. I was
Bless
like,
you.
what and how? Oh, I had nothing to do with it. I was no help at all. But it was a really hard class. So she came to us and said, I'm struggling in this class. I want to put together like a homework group. And we were like, that's awesome. So as parents, we said to her, you know what? Do it at our house. Our house is always open. Whenever you need a physics study group, you come here. Like that was a resource we could give her. And then we said to her, on top of that, if you let us know when you're coming over, we'll have a treat. We'll have a snack. And so we took our resources as parents and kind of like threw them behind that goal that she had.
Yes.
And it just makes it a little easier for them. It
Yes.
just helps them along.
And finally, in our last 30 seconds, you say part of this goal setting process is acknowledging and marking the success. And as parents, we can celebrate that.
Yes, and it's really important to mark all the little successes leading up to a big one or maybe not a big success.
Sure, yeah.
So, celebrate the fact that they want to try something new. Celebrate all the effort they put into that because that's something that they can control, right? So many things they can't control, but they can control their effort. They can control showing up with a good attitude. And then if their goal works out, that's awesome. My daughter Maddie wanted to be on the dance team and it worked out. But if it hadn't worked out, then you still have all those little celebrations all along the way. And I am just convinced that anytime you set a goal, whether you make it all the way to that goal or not, it's worthwhile. You become a different version and a better version of yourself.
I think of often a line that our own Dr. Liz Hale says all the time, nothing wasted. Nothing wasted.
Nothing.
In fact, a lot gained through that process of goal setting, identifying ahead of time the priorities, shaping goals around that, and then ultimately celebrating those small milestones. Thank you, Jessi. A great conversation to think about and enact in your own homes. Where can we get more advice and conversation from you?
You can find me online at formiddlemoms.com or on Instagram at middle.moms.
You've got a great community there and great conversations
do.
happening. So we'll link you over from our website. Thanks again. Happy back to school.